Hello there, my name is Dr. Salim Javed. I am an associate professor at the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication at Lingas Lalitha Devi Institute of Management and Sciences, affiliated with Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University. As you know, that it is a series by the name of Understanding Cinema, and we have been trying to understand the very initial development in filmmaking industry. Today we will be discussing about the advent of feature film and the star system, how the craze for feature film started, what were the circumstances that it started, and how the star system as we know it today across the world, how this star system started, what were the reasons behind it, who were the people who started it, what were the strategies that were implemented, and many more things. Now, to recapitulate what we have been talking about, if you have been following the series, it is that around 1908 the American film industry began to take its modern form. Now, we have discussed at length the developments from 1895 when the first commercial screening took place, and then we talked about very initial successful films and directors like Méliès and Thomas Alva Edison and a lot of other people. We talked about a trip to the moon, the fireman, and a lot of the American Fireman, and a lot of other films also. And then we discussed about that how after a trip to the moon or American Fireman or the Great Train Robbery, not much is there to talk about up till around 1908, 1910. Up till this time there was not much to talk about. But around, as I said, that around 1908 the American film industry began to take its modern shape. Now, what does it mean that American film industry started taking its modern shape? So they started somewhere around 1895, and from 1895 to 1910 it is it is exactly 15 years. So what were the changes that are considered to be modern or to be accepted, that now onwards we are departing from the, not exactly departing, but we are repeating the success which Edwin S. Potter has seen, or the initial films of Edwin S. Potter has seen, or what Edison was doing. And I'll be talking about Edison at a great length during the lecture also, because when I'll be talking about MPPC, at that point of time I'll be talking about Edison and how he started. So we are basically recapitulating, because now onwards we are going to talk about a lot of lot of things which, if not, if you do not keep a track of these things, chances are that one lecture from next will not be acting like as if it is connected with the past. So it is important to have this baseline, and as I said, in that around 1903 Harry J and Herbert Miles, they were the two brothers which are I call them Miles brothers, like Lumiere brothers. They started a film exchange from in which they were buying prints from producer and lease out to the exhibitor. It may not sound very big thing today, but as we have discussed, that how difficult it was for the exhibitor to keep on changing films, and unless you are not in direct contact with the producer, and obviously the price was a issue. So Harry J and Herbert Miles, Miles brothers, actually they very much changed the scenario of film distribution. So technically the title distributors come around 1903, and because the model was so successful that by 1908 there were approximately 10,000 Nickelodeons and 100 film exchange operating in United States. Now think of something that how many people are engaged in the process. 10,000 Nickelodeons. Can you imagine how many people were watching film short films, obviously at this point of time, one reeler, two reeler, two reeler was like a big thing. So they were basically one or two reelers. So imagine that there are 10,000 Nickelodeons by the year 1908 in the United States. So think of people, how ready they were to consume films. And obviously, please understand, when I'm talking about at particular this phase, there are no feature films. These are reels. Sometime when I was preparing this lecture, so one of my students asked, "Sir, reel exists, in 1903, 1904." I said the initial films were reels only. you know so today, if you scroll reels in your mobile, there is no wonder that history repeats itself. So it's not a new term that I'm watching reels. The cinema started in the form of reels only, and feature film is a later development. This is what one has to understand, that feature film was not there from the beginning. There was a story, there was a sense of story, there was some sort of structure within the story, but what we call feature film, I'll be talking about what is feature, how a film qualifies as a feature film, what are the features of a film to qualify it as a feature film. So I'll be talking about that also. Now, as I said, that Thomas Alva Edison, I always talk about Edwin S. Potter, I don't know why, but if you remember, we talked about MPPC, which is basically Motion Picture Patents Company, and how Thomas Alva Edison is instrumental in forming MPPC, Motion Picture Patents Company. Now, this is one of the first organized group of people which tries to establish a monopoly on filmmaking itself. Before MPPC, Motion Picture Patents Company, which was formed on January 1st, 1909, everybody was like free to do things, everybody was free to make his or her own film. Not her in the beginning, very, very, very limited, I mean hardly one example. People were free to make films, but by the time MPPC, so this is the, if someone asks you which is the first formal organization of film industry in the world, technically, which really played a crucial role, so the answer would be Motion Picture Patents Company. So it's in short, it is called MPPC. Now, who are the people who formed it? If you can see on your screen, look at the names. Who are the parties in MPPC? Edison, Thomas Alva Edison himself, Biograph as a company itself, Vitagraph as a company itself, Esne as a company itself, Sleg as a company itself, Lubin, Kellem, and obviously more people like American branches of the French companies like Star and Pathé. They are existing even today also. And obviously one distributor called George Keane, the biggest domestic importer of foreign films at that time. Now, this particular thing, foreign film, has played such a tremendous role in shaping the history of Hollywood, that today we take that Hollywood is one of the most or I should say the first film industry in the world, but you will see during the lecture that they were not. And this is what precisely this lecture is all about. The beauty of this sort of lecture, where we are invited to CEC and asked to deliver lectures on different topic, that you get to know things which are not available, easily available, not easily, I would not say, which are not otherwise available. It is a platform which offers you a very alternative medium of learning. So this is really important, where each word is guaranteed, where information has to be right. So these are the things that one has to really understand, that when MPPC came into being, giants came together, and they formed, a group, uh, which is called Motion Picture Patents Company, and Edison, Biograph, Vitascope, Esne, Sleg, Lubin, Kellum, Pathe, Starr, and George Klein himself. They came together. What this group did. Now, if you see that Edison is one of the pioneers in the filmmaking history, because of kinetograph. Thomas William Kennedy Laurie Dixon was his assistant who invented camera. So Edison, and obviously Edison, you have studied as we were growing. When we qualified 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th standard in our school. So we know Edison, that he was an inventor. He is a big name, and he is in the history of filmmaking also. So these giants came together and formed a group, and what this group did, which is very, very interesting. The Motion Picture Patents Company, which is called MPPC, orchestrated a powerful alliance with the Eastman Kodak Company. Now, Eastman is also obviously a big name, the biggest producer of raw film stock in the Western world. When films like so think of MPPC's power, how big they were, and not only they were big, all the patents, all the legal, what do you call that, caviar, all the caveats were with them, all the licenses were with them, and on top of that, the cherry on the cake is that they took Eastman Kodak company by their side, in their stride. So the scene was that if you really want to hire our equipment, you have to be the part, or you have to take permission from us if you are using our equipments, because majority of the patents were with them. And then if you want to use raw stock, then Eastman is also with us, Kodak is also with us. So there was no way, for some time, not always, please remember, nothing is permanent. For a period of time, it was impossible to make films if you are not part, or if you are not affiliated with the Motion Picture Patents Company, or MPPC. Think of the scenario, how difficult it must have been. But then obviously there were changes, there were a lot of, this is what we have discussed, there were a lot of independent producers, who came forward, who said, okay, enough is enough, we are not taking your equipment, we are not taking raw footage from you, we will outsource it, we will get it from somewhere. And obviously they did not have control on that, and a lot of people survived, and that is what we are going to talk about. And now the interesting thing is, when films like J. Stewart's Blackstone 5 reel, now till now we are talking about only one reeler, and now we are talking about the life of Moses, which was a 5 reeler, which was released in 1909, and D.W. Griffith's 2 reeler, His Trust, by 1910 were produced. They were released to exhibitors in derailed fashion at the rate of 1 reel per week, which seriously damaged their continuity. Now, obviously, when I will be talking about Quo Vadis and Kabiria, then you will realize that how difficult it must have been for MPPC to release, to let go the format that they have championed. Look at the films that were produced by MPPC when they were in full control, where a lot of other films were not technically superb. MPPC films were technically brilliant examples of that time of filmmaking. So because they had genuine equipments, they had genuine raw footage, and they really had people who were working. And very interesting anecdote here is that the people who were working at this point of time in the film industry, it became industry later on, that is what we are going to talk about, So the people who were working at this point of time in filmmaking, they were not very happy with the state, or they were not very happy associated with the medium, you know, because if for them it was like as if they are contributing in producing the cheap entertainment for people. So I mean, I don't know about this generation which is crazy after Sayyara, but when we were young, I mean, people used to call it cheap. So look at the terminology from where the genesis of the terminology is long back. It was not an a term which was given by some politician. Obviously, they also had newspapers. They really had played a role in unpopularizing the film. We have discussed about it, but it is a thing which came from the community itself. So people who were associated with the business of filmmaking, they were not very happy. They were not very proud of being associated with the medium. They were like, fine, we are doing some work. We are working for a medium which is like responsible for churning out cheap entertainment. So when these two films, the example that I have talked about, The Life of Moses, which was made in 1909, and His Trust, which was made by D.W. Griffith in 1910, the problem was that it was more than one reeler. But as it was, connected to MPPC, they said, okay, we are in a habit of releasing film as reels, we will continue doing that. The stubbornness of MPPC more than anything else is responsible for the downfall of it. Otherwise, when you see names, like Edison, Biograph, Vitagraph, Esne, Slag, Lubin, Kelman, Star, Pathé. So when you see something like this, it is difficult to believe that people can actually fail, but it happened. And I have given you the example of these two films, The Life of Moses and His Trust, where having more than one reeler, they said, okay, we are not releasing in the form of 2-reeler or 5-reeler, we are not doing it. So what we will do, we will release every film. If it is a 2-reeler, so first reel will be released in this week and the second reel will be released next week. If it is a 5-reeler, then first this, second next, third next, fourth and fifth this way. And very interesting thing that what people did, they were not, I mean, suppose like now, how would you make, imagine how would you make Mahabharata in one reel, how would you make Ramayana in one reel? Obviously you need to have more reels, you need to have longer duration, and this was one of the main objections, that how would you translate the play, any play of Shakespeare in one reel? So when people started consuming one reelers, they realized, okay, skit wise it is fine, but to say a longer story or any story, like suppose think of the film like The Life of Christ for that matter. Now how can Life of Christ can be squeezed into one reeler? I mean, nobody will be able to do any sort of justice with that. Now there was an open revolt against the practice, and what people started doing, they started holding, and this is very, very interesting. I mean, people have got their ways. So if it is a 5-reeler and they know that MPPC will be releasing only one reel per week, so what they started doing, what exhibitors started doing by this time, please remember that there are 10,000 Nickelodeons by the year 1908 in United States, so they are in great number. So they started holding, like if I am an exhibitor and I have received the first reel of The Life of Moses, so I will hold that first reel. Next week I will hold the second reel. Third week I will hold the third reel. Fourth and fifth. So once I have all the 5 reels, imagine now how alternatives are proposed. Now imagine that when I have 5 reels and I am charging you for one film, whereas in return you are seeing 5 films. You know, if I take 100 rupees from you today and I give you a value of 500 rupees on the spot to you, you'll be happy with giving me 100 rupees. And that is what, like, people have rarely talked about it. I think this is one of the tricks, or I think this is one of the first very smart move in terms of exhibitors, for initiation. I mean, obviously they were not aware of it, that, but for the initiation or for preparing people for a longer story in the same price. Obviously, if you are saying, longer story in more price, chances are that people may not like to see, but you are giving them longer story in the same price, it's 100% win. Now, the effect was such that the patent company MPPC, they had to release Griffith's second two-reeler Enoch Arden, which he made in year 1911. Think of of the effect. Now the next question, which is, as we have discussed, so how feature film started. Now this is again a very interesting observation. It's what is a feature film? What duration of a film is qualified as a feature film? If you ever get a chance to visit CBFC website, there is they have said that film of this duration, I am not giving you exact minutes, though I have it in mind, film of this duration, either of this duration or more, is qualified as a feature film. Obviously, then you have artistic components of a feature film, beginning, middle and end, but there is a technical definition also of a feature film. So visit CVFC website, and I mean, it's easily available, go and find out, because when we were in freelancing world, then we were struggling that, and then somebody actually told us to go to CBFC website and find out what is called the duration. I mean, the duration is, what is the duration, exact duration, and when we read that, so there was no doubt beyond that. Now this the iron grip of patent company, uh, obviously they were in favor of one reeler, whereas the other group of people who were independent producers, obviously they were exactly in opposition with the patents company MPPC. So what they did, okay, you are not giving us your equipment, okay, you are not giving us your raw footage, raw stock, fine, thank you, we will take from outside US. Fair enough. People started importing films, and they started importing films from France, from Italy, and obviously there was no MPPC or patents company in France or Italy, and they realized that longer the film, reasonable the charges, people are anyway liking this novelty, so people will definitely love it. So when films came, when foreign films came in US, especially from France and Italy, people realized, people saw, people witnessed, people comprehended a very different kind of feature films, where the sets were grand, where live action was taking place, where people were seeing historical drama, where people were seeing sets, it was majestic. So when people were exposed, I mean think of today's scenario. When you see sacred games or or the house of cards for that matter, then you realize, okay, this is how I mean this is how story can be made. Also, also is really important. And when you see films like Jallikattu or Kantara or Tumbad, then you realize, oh, we can do it also. I mean, this is really very different. So the moment you have exposure to a very different sort of cinema, that's why when you are a student of journalism or filmmaking, they ask you to read different, they ask you to watch channels from different countries, they ask you to see films from different countries, they ask you to read writers from different countries, from developed world, from periphery world. So when you are exposed to variety of things, and when you form your own opinion, then you realize that it is not skewed, it is more, you are more informed. So when films started importing, like the Reen Elizabeth, which was imported in 1912, which was 3.5 reeler, people could see more in the same price. Quo Vadis, as I said, uh, when people saw it in 1903, they were, they were literally blown off. Look at the pictures on your screen, and can you imagine that this is a film still from 1913? I mean, it looks like as if you are watching Gladiator of the film which was released in 2000, or some very modern film. There is no VFX. These are real horses. These are real buildings. These are real lions on set. I mean, these are not VFX. And look at these. This is another film which was imported from Italy called Cabiria. Look at the grandness. When I'll be talking about D.W. Griffith, when I'll be talking about Intolerance, Griffith was directly influenced by these two films. I mean, look at the sets. It's monumental. So these films, like, and then obviously the First World War started, and the obviously America was not impacted because of that, but they tasted it. I mean, these 3, 4, 5 films that I talked about, the Reen Elizabeth, and then Quo Vadis, and then Kabiria, then you realize that it was more than what we were seeing, and it completely changed the mindset. It completely changed the taste. It completely changed the audience forever. Thank you.